Rabbit Hole Roundup, episode 73. Did SGA steal the MVP? So guys, in today's episode, I first want to talk about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, of course, winning the NBA MVP award last week over Nikola Jokic, and now some people out there are calling him the worst MVP ever.
You suck!
And while I don't agree with that, I do have some issues with the way the MVP was chosen this year.
I got a lot of problems with you people!
I'm also going to be giving an overall review as far as where we're currently at in this NBA playoffs and in the conference finals, and why the teams who are still remaining actually made it this far. I'm also going to share a powerful story that actually came from one of my commenters last week on YouTube, talking about overcoming drug addiction and how embracing the suck got him through it. I have a clip that talks about how parents and coaches will often unintentionally make their kids quit sports and make it a miserable experience for them.
We gotta pummel these guys. We gotta pummel them at all costs. I want you to play dirty if you have to, but don't get caught.
When of course on the flip side, having the right coach or a great role model can truly change a kid's life, as I know from my own experience, and it's like I've tried to do with so many kids out there. I have an Andy Frisella clip that talks about why you need to stop jumping ship every time the newness of your goal wears off, and how if you would just stick with it for a few years, or several years in most cases, you would actually achieve the desired results. I have a clip from Ryan Tedder, lead singer of One Republic, which talks about how, of course, you're only going to hear the hits, but like you're not going to see the hundreds of songs that come before that, and some which actually never get released, and also how like you need to trust your own heart and your own vision above anyone else's opinions out there. And finally, I have a clip that talks about how Washington Nationals pitcher went from working at Home Depot just a few short years ago to now being a Major League Baseball player, because he didn't let his current circumstances detract him from his ultimate dreams. So without further ado, let's dive deeper now. Rabbit hole time, let's go.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jared Weiss. For you guys that didn't know that, must mean you're not subscribed to the channel, so you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, be sure to leave a like, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts on this video. Follow me on every platform, and if you guys haven't done so already, make sure to check out my book, Fight Through by Jared Weiss. All links purchased are on my website, which is jaredryanweiss.com. That's JAREDRYANWEISS.com. Buy the book, and also make sure to check out all the awesome shirts I have in there. Every shirt is 100% organic cotton, designed by me. All of them have their own motivational words, just like the shirt I'm currently wearing right now, which is I'm unstoppable. So like any support at all, as always, is very much appreciated. So let's dive deeper now. So far with where we're at in the NBA Conference Finals, there are a lot of things like we see in common with all the remaining teams. Every team left is very well coached, whether it's Chris Finch of the Timberwolves, Mark Daigneault of the Oklahoma City Thunder, Tom Thibodeau of the Knicks, and Rick Carlisle of the Pacers. Tibbs, as we know, has been in the league for a while now, and it seems they're always going to play hard no matter what. Of course, he always plays his guys tons of minutes, but he also does know how to get the most out of his players. The Pacers went very under the radar this year, similar to how the Timberwolves did. And Rick Carlisle, once again, a super experienced coach, especially with the Mavericks all those years. And in the West, you have Mark Daigneault, who of course has the Oklahoma City Thunder, well-oiled machine and deep roster, and their incredible defense humming on all cylinders. And that defense can make any top offense player struggle. Furthermore, every team remaining has a very deep roster. Outside the Knicks, of course, because Tibbs doesn't like to play his bench. And sometimes he's going to look like a genius when he's doing that, but like other times he's going to get criticized for that. OKC can go 10 deep some games. And as good as Shai is, even though, of course, as we know, he's also a foul baiter player, he gets a ton of help from Jalen Williams, Isaiah Hardenstein, Alex Caruso, etc., Casey Wallace. The Pacers, similar story. They're going to have a new top contributor seemingly every night, in addition to Tyrese Haliburton, of course. The Wolves, as good as Ant Edwards has been in this playoffs, it's never just him, because he's always getting help from guys like Naz Reid, Mike Conley, Dante DiVincenzo, Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, and someone always seems to step up whenever they need it. Now, overall in the NBA, I do still think like the box office players, the ones who everyone wants to see, are still going to be like the older guys like LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, which is why, of course, the NBA ratings went down immediately after LeBron got eliminated. But we might be seeing the passing of a torch to an extent. And it looks like the whole Big Three strategy might not be enough to win anymore. You may actually need like a deep bench and deep roster. And you also need like a team who could defend at a high level, not just score the ball at a high clip, especially for the playoffs. Although having said that, like I still don't think the other guys who I just mentioned are done just yet, even though all the new talent and all the new players have been shining in this playoffs. Next up, I want to segue into Shai Gilgeous-Alexander winning the MVP over Nikola Jokic this past week, in spite of basically everyone who agrees that Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world, and some are calling this MVP win the worst ever. Now, I do believe the MVP should have gone to Jokic. I mean, he averaged a 30-point triple-double and was essentially the whole Denver Nuggets team, and he almost single-handedly, basically to an extent, took a team with a new coach as their old coach got fired with 2 weeks left in the season, and they almost beat the best team in the NBA in a 7-game series. Having said that, Shai was of course fantastic this year, leading the league in scoring, being a great defender too, but I also think he and his team had more help than Jokic. I mean, if Nikola Jokic sits down for 2 minutes, his team goes down by 10. If Shai sits, the other guys are going to step up. But of course, Shai is a great defender and he's a great leader in his own right. However, we do have to have a serious conversation about all the foul baiting that he does. This is not a good look for the NBA in my opinion. Especially in the super physical playoffs, where everyone else out there is getting no foul calls, but yet it looks like Shai's getting a totally different whistle. Now, I personally believe this whole style of foul baiting offense started about 7 or 8 years ago with James Harden on the Rockets. I think the refs should have stopped it then. And I know a lot of people out there probably think it started with LeBron James. But if you actually look at the numbers and how often he actually goes to the free throw line and watch the games, yes, of course LeBron does flop sometimes. But that's also because he doesn't get any calls that he should be getting because he's such a big physical player. And of course Steph Curry's adopted this, James Harden still does it, and now Shai seems to be the culmination of all this. I think if it's an unnatural shot attempt, we need to stop calling these as fouls. Because that's not how basketball is meant to be played.
That was embarrassing for basketball.
I mean, some of the calls this playoffs, no one even touches Shai, and then the refs blow the whistle on them for a foul. So that's a big issue. I don't agree with people saying Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the worst MVP of all time. However, once again, as I've said in the past, the OKC Thunder are an entirely well-oiled machine with a super deep roster, and they're not just one player. Now this topic also leads me into, I see it now and I've heard it for years, people taking unnecessary cheap shots at my all-time favorite player, Steve Nash, and claiming he stole MVPs from Shaq and Kobe in their primes, and I'm here to end all that talk. Stats don't tell the full story in this case. The Phoenix Suns offense in the early 2000s changed the game of basketball forever probably. If you were actually there for it and watching it, as closely as I was at that time, you can't possibly tell me Steve Nash didn't make every single player around him a million times better. His playmaking ability was absolutely unmatched, and he led the Suns to multiple 60-plus win seasons. So yes, just looking at the numbers, maybe other players had better numbers, but if we're talking about the most valuable player, Steve Nash was a catalyst to a basketball game-changing offense and made several All-Stars out of his teammates. So, miss me with all that nonsense. Steve Nash, of course I'm biased, but I watched it all and I believe he was totally deserving of those MVP awards. Next up, I want to share a super powerful story from a commenter on the channel on YouTube last week. So I hope this person doesn't mind me sharing their story. But this was just so awesome and I feel it has the potential to help out so many people out there. So anyways, the comment reads, "This was a great video and I loved your statement on embracing the suck. After my older sister died, I got really bad into opioids and ultimately culminated in me dying 5 times. Thankfully, I was Narcaned each time and they were able to resuscitate me each time. When I finally decided to get clean, the withdrawals were immense. But I imagine what Christ suffered. You may not believe it, but I do. And I said I will embrace the suck of these withdrawals so that I can know that I'll never go back to it. I quit last year, and I'm even off Suboxone and methadone treatment. I lowered my dosage as fast as I could while retaining my sanity. I embraced the suck, and I effing lived. It wasn't the end of my life. It wasn't unbearable. I thought it would be, but it wasn't. If that's a gift, then so be it. I love this kind of content. It's better to be realistic than dishonestly optimistic. Now, of course, I am someone who the vast majority of the time is extremely optimistic. But anyways, of course we all have challenges, and some are of course harder than others. I've been healing from a crazy life-threatening illness, as many of you know by now, and this guy had massive drug issues. But what do all these success stories all have in common? I believe that it's possible to overcome the challenge, and like I said, this ability to be able to embrace the suck, longer than the next guy, or as long as is required. When life gets hard, you get tougher. The circumstances that you're currently in do not have to define the outcome, and you can do anything when you give it enough time, effort, and with the right mindset. So thank you so much to this commenter for sharing his story. I hope you guys found it as powerful as I did. Next, I want to share a clip that I came across last week that really resonated with me, that talks about kids in sports and how so often parents or coaches, who of course are usually well-meaning, will make their kids think of quitting or will turn what should be a great, fun, rewarding experience into something miserable. Let's watch together.
95% of kids are actually thinking of quitting their sport on the car ride home. You know, after the game, parents really need to be aware that their words have a huge impact on their kids' confidence. So the best thing you can say to your athlete after the game is, I love you. I love watching you play. You know, let's go get ice cream. What do you want for dinner? Instead of, why'd you do this during the game? Oh, your coach lost that game for you. The refs were terrible. You know, you need to do this next time. And, you know, I was guilty of it when I was younger, when my kids were younger. But I think it's just having that self-awareness as a parent to understand that if you want your child to be confident on the court, they need to figure out their own, you know, mistakes that they make by themselves on the court. If you want them to play free, they need to figure it out on the court and not hear direction from you, constantly telling them what to do. Run faster, you know, shoot the ball, because it's distracting and doesn't help.
So over the years, I had plenty of times where I was so hard on myself, but then my coaches would lay into me to the point of tears, and that never felt right to me. Especially because I was always trying my hardest. I believe it's so much more powerful to encourage kids and give them positive reinforcement as well as constructive criticism. It's like saying things like, why didn't you make that shot? It's like, I wanted to make the shot, but I didn't miss it on purpose, and this will often make you overthink your next shot. I have a whole chapter in my book that actually talks about how to coach properly, but I believe it's so essential to give kids individual coaching and actually get to understand all of your players and what each of them needs. One strategy isn't going to work for every player, and putting people down or singling players out is only going to lead to teammate infighting.
Ambrose, you're big. Don't be afraid to throw the elbow. If you break someone's collarbone, that's a good thing.
And more stress out there on the court as opposed to being able to play free, whether it's coming from coaches or parents once again.
Not like a lot of the other parents.
No, not like the other parents at all. Better.
Now, not giving effort, of course, is a whole different story, but I believe there should be more of a focus from parents and coaches on the preparation and attitude leading up to the game and the effort being given as opposed to hyper-analyzing every mistake that gets made. Having a good coach or role model could actually change someone's life for the better, as I know from my own case, with a very small amount of the coaches who I had, but then also what I've been able to do for other kids, as I've coached, and I'm actually still currently coaching a team who's in the playoffs right now, but I know how much of an impact I've had on some of my players, and it feels so great to be able to give back, and to be able to be the coach who I needed when I was that age, as well as the role model who I could have used when I was that age. Next up we have an Andy Frisella clip that talks about why you need to stop jumping ship and switching things up every time you don't reach that goal or every time the newness fades from that goal.
What if Patrick Mahomes, every time he had 2 or 3 bad games growing up, he said, I'm going to switch sports? Would he be Patrick Mahomes? And this is what people do with their lives. It's what people do with their relationships. And then they wake up at 40 years old and they're like, what the happened? You can't get caught in the hamster wheel. And the way you get caught in the hamster wheel is by switching your life up every 2 or 3 years when the newness wears off and doing something else. True greatness comes with time as being a part of that recipe. And if you do not put in the time, the greatness can't exist.
So well said. You have to give things time and a lot of time.
How long is this going to take?
As I've learned and continue to learn on all my journeys, whether it's my healing journey from a life-threatening illness, whether it's my dunk journey at only 5'6", whether it's my whole content creation and podcasting journey, or as an author, or putting out a clothing line. If I were to give up on these things just because I didn't have that immediate success, then I would be ensuring I'll never get to that ultimate success. I see so many people these days who jump ship every year or even every few months, and then these people wonder why they're struggling to make progress in any area of their life. Or a lot of these people end up feeling lost, and it's because you didn't stick with anything for long enough. Great things take time, as I'm always saying, and unless you're the one viral video outlier who does actually make it overnight, you're gonna have to stay consistent and stick with that goal for years and maybe even many years. Life and God, I believe, wants you to earn that success with blood, sweat, and tears so that this way you could appreciate it in the end. And any shortcuts that you try to take aren't gonna pay off long term.
What did it cost?
Everything.
So see every day as a stepping stone in the right direction, not looking at every single thing that's not a completion of the goal as a failure. And this leads me perfectly into my next clip, coming from Ryan Tedder, lead singer of One Republic, which speaks about how you're always going to hear the hits, but you're not going to hear all the other songs that got made or got lost in the shuffle. Let's watch together.
You know, the truth of the matter is you hear the hits, you don't hear the other, call it 150 songs I wrote that year that were good, but didn't go viral, didn't land a home. Some of them are hits, but they haven't come out yet.
Yeah.
So that's the truth of the matter, is like some of the biggest hits that have played on Kiss 108, for instance. Like Apologize sat in my hard drive for 4 years. Sucker was 18 months on my hard drive. That's What I Want took a year to come out with Lil Nas. The gap between a song not even being on an album versus coming out and being the biggest song in the world is one decision away. It's the artist going, it's like, I played it for the Uber driver and they were like mid on it, and literally that will shift an entire album and an entire campaign, and the artist will ditch a smash because one person got in their ear that shouldn't have gotten their ear.
So he brings up two very powerful points like I want to address. Now first off, this applies to musicians or anywhere in life. Just because we're only seeing the highlights doesn't show like how much work or other projects or posts or iterations had to come before that hit. And you only get to the hit by being relentless and by continuing to pump out all the other work that might not be a viral hit. And that doesn't mean like those works aren't good, but sometimes for whatever reason they just like haven't been seen or didn't catch on with the right people yet. The way that like you thought they should, but maybe they will a few years from now. And the next point from this clip like I wanted to address is how he said like you might be sitting on an amazing work, but you show it to the wrong person, like the Uber driver in this case, and you don't get good feedback, so you don't release it. Now if I'm going to relate this to me with my whole clothing line, for instance, I think I'm sitting on a masterpiece, and I do believe like in time, it will be a huge success. But let's just say like I show a shirt to someone, and they don't like it. Now imagine like if I choose to shut everything down just because of like that one opinion. So this is like why we have to trust our own opinions, trust our own intuition, and trust what our heart is telling us above all. Even if seemingly everyone around us is doubting us, if we believe in what we're doing, then you can't stop. Now finally in this week's episode, I want to share a super powerful clip that was shared by, I think her name is Abby Labar, and this is about like a Washington Nationals pitcher who went from working at Home Depot a few years ago to becoming a major league pitcher. Let's watch together.
This is Touching Base, where I fill you guys in on everything from playbooks to personal growth. A sports story that resonated with me lately, Brad Lord, pitcher for the Nationals. If you don't know him, get to know him. He was a part-time worker at Home Depot just last year, and in one of his latest outings, he struck out Shohei Ohtani twice. I love this because I think a lot of people look at celebrities or, those of us on TV or major league ball players and feel like sometimes it's hard to relate, right? You kind of put people on a pedestal a lot of the times, but I mean, for me, just 2 years ago, I was serving tables. I've actually always served tables throughout my career because I have to make ends meet when I'm out of a job for certain seasons of my life. And so, I think the biggest lesson here is if you're currently serving tables or if you're currently working at Home Depot, on the flip side, you could also be doing what we're doing. So don't give up on your dreams. And I love to hear stories like this because that's just what empowers and motivates all of us.
So this is yet like another amazing success story of someone who kept their vision of their dreams strong in spite of all the odds seemingly being stacked against them. Once again, you're gonna have haters, you're gonna have doubters, and people who are telling you that like it's time to quit, it's time to give up on your dreams. But unless you believe that for yourself, then you have to like listen to what your heart is telling you above all other opinions.
This is my fight. Everyone's got one.
And it's like the famous clip from the movie Pursuit of Happiness. When you have a dream, you gotta protect it. When people can't do something themselves, they want to convince you that like you can't do it either. But when you want something bad enough, you can't let all those detractors and naysayers stop you. And also, wherever you're at currently, doesn't have to be like where you're gonna end up. Some dreams out there are gonna need detours, or just like more time to work out. So if you're currently working a job that like you hate right now, just to make ends meet, it doesn't mean like your dream job is over or out of the question. But sometimes like the universe and God just need some more time to work things out in the background for you. So you just like have to keep that faith and keep going. Anyways, I really hope like you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel. Let me know your favorite topic from this episode. Let me know your thoughts on the NBA playoffs. Let me know your favorite motivational story that like I covered. Anyways, I will catch you guys next time. Stay positive, stay hustling, stay grinding. Keep working on your own dreams. Peace.